Yo, GM Adam. Happy Halloween, man. It has been a long weekend. I feel like I've been celebrating Halloween for over a week already. How's everything in Costa Rica. You guys do Halloween down there?
It's funny. When I first moved here, no Halloween, because it's a very like Christian country. Halloween was seen as like a satanic ritual. Nobody did Halloween. Like my wife and I had it for the kids, like in our little town, and people were like, "You should not be doing that." Like totally. But now, completely taken over. Like all of Costa Rica is filled with kids trick or treating and stuff. So yeah, we imported the culture here, my friend. It's great.
Absolutely beautiful. We're in for a massive space today. Tom, dude, first, congratulations on all the success so far, man. You have been absolutely crushing it. It's been probably a few months since we last caught up, man. How you been?
I'm great. Yeah, we talked. I remember on the pod. This was just a little apple in my eye, and you really got it. I think we had a great conversation. It's great to be back. And it's just the beginning. Okay, like there's a lot of pressure. Let's deliver what we're saying we're going to deliver in November. But the energy is here. I think we really struck a nerve. So I'm really excited to talk to y'all.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna
it's
find
crazy. Sorry, go ahead, Jacob. I was just gonna say like we're a little delayed. Sorry, Jake, man. Yeah, I was gonna say that the Ethscription Discord is probably the most active Discord I've seen right now. I mean, it's literally bonkers in there. So congrats on that, because keeping a community alive during the bear, you've got to bring something interesting and new. And so congrats on that, man.
Thank you. And I really do zero there. I don't even know how to post a link myself. So I just want to say shout out to all the community members who moderate everything. And thank you. I have no idea how it is going so well. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I pinned the spaces to the top, so everyone make sure that you retweet that so that everyone can learn about Ethscriptions. We have almost 500 people in this space right now that wants to learn about some of the most interesting and innovative tech that we've seen on Ethereum in quite some time. Tom, let's just get kind of right into it. Yesterday, this space comes, right on the footsteps of a major announcement from you and Michael have been building. Can you go over what Facet is and how this kind of propels the space forward?
Sure. So it's Facet.
Facet.
It is kind of a little hard, but the name is meaningful. Okay. What is Facet? So first of all, what is the point of any of this? I think is a good question to ask. Because Facet, there are a lot of details. Michael and I have obsessed about this technology. We have a lot to share. We can't wait to share it, but we're very in the weeds. And that announcement was quite in the weeds too, because it doesn't address the major thing that we are trying to launch here. And that major thing requires asking, what is the point of any of this? Why are we here? And we are here because we believe in Ethereum, right? We believe in the idea that if you want to communicate with someone or spend money or perform a computation or build an app or do any of these things, you should not have to bend your knee or bend the knee, as some people use the phrase. You shouldn't have to bend at all anything to a billion-dollar corporation, basically. And billion-dollar corporations are good. I like them. Even when I say bad things about billion-dollar corporations, I might like them. But they shouldn't control everything on Earth. So if you are in this room, there's a very good chance that you believe that every aspect of your life should not be completely controlled by a billion-dollar corporation. So if you're not, sorry to, conjecture and assume, but I think there's a good chance. So why? So how do we want to do it? Well, we believe in Ethereum because we believe Ethereum can help solve this problem. Because Ethereum is a platform that exists today. So first of all, it's amazing that it exists. It's been around for 10 years, which is even more amazing. It's like, how is this possible? It's a platform where you can do those things, communicate, compute, spend money, do all this stuff, and no one can stop you, and it can't be turned off. So there's no way you can go to Ethereum and go to the boss, the headquarters of Ethereum, and say, shut this whole thing down. I don't like what Tom's doing. Now, obviously, it can be turned off if the world explodes, there's problems, but it's pretty darn good. It's the best we got, is my opinion. We believe in Ethereum, but the problem is Ethereum is so expensive to use that it is impossible to use, and no one will ever use it, basically. No normal person will ever use it. It's too inefficient, and that's really bad. Okay, so the question is, how do we make the good parts of Ethereum accessible to a lot more people so they can use it and do good things with it? Because I believe this is just the very beginning for Ethereum and the good stuff people want to do with Ethereum. And so the goal of Facet, and really the goal of Ethscriptions overall, but we've been developing, the goal of Facet is to do this, is to give people the ability to use Ethereum and get all the same good stuff, all the same exact great stuff, no sacrifices, no compromise, all that stuff, but it's going to be a fraction of the price. And in fact, it's going to be like 1/40th of the price. It's going to be way, 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 way cheaper. So this is the idea behind Facet. It's a way of using Ethereum. It's a way of thinking about Ethereum that's not different, right? The reason it's called Facet is because we're about looking at things differently. You look at a beautiful gemstone from a different angle, you see a different facet, right? We are looking at Ethereum differently. We are using Ethereum differently, but we are getting all of the same functionality at a much cheaper price. And this stands in opposition to another thing that is out there called L2s, but I'm not gonna, we can discuss all this stuff. But yes, this is the idea. Facet is a platform that is built on Ethscriptions that allows you to do any computation you could do, build any app you could do on Ethereum, but do it for a lot less cost and in a way that's a lot more accessible.
Yeah, man, it's quite beautiful, the things that you guys have built so far. So maybe we'll go back a little bit now that we've talked about the intro of why everyone's probably here. Back when Ethscriptions, first came to the scene, what was this back in? Was this back in April? Maybe was it like the beginning of summer? Do you remember that, Tom?
June 16th.
Oh my God,
I think
it feels so much longer. So back when that happened, right? You created Ethscriptions, Adamite, Emblem. We kind of got together and we helped put Ethscriptions inside of vaults that could be then sold on Ethereum. And then that's kind of when everyone was like, oh, what is this kind of technology? Right. Then there was the whole thing with the Ethereum punks. And then everyone saw like, oh, this is kind of like Bitcoin ordinals on Ethereum, but in its own way. And you go back and said that there was actually earlier attempts at something that you guys had tried to do. I believe going all the way back to 2016 was the first image of like some sort of mimetic cat that was stored on Ethereum back in 2016. So it shows that you guys were kind of at the right place at the right time with the right type of community. And then there was the Ethereum punks. They had to be kind of delisted, and then it goes back to this whole like the gas issue, right? Where whenever Ethereum hits generally over 20 or 30 Gwei, most of these NFTs are costing $4, $5, $6 to create. And this is where you say this is where Ethscription is beautiful, because it could be literally pennies or cents or under $1 since then. But then we also saw some things from Bitcoin ordinals kind of make it over. People did, I don't know how it's still called ERC20, right? It was ERC20 was borrowed as BRC20, which then BRC20 was borrowed as ERC20. How has that sector with Ethscriptions evolved? Is it still in its current state of kind of this OTC trading style, or has there been additional functionality with ERC20 on Ethscriptions?
Right. So that's a great question, because as you mentioned, the original idea behind Ethscriptions was cheaper NFT. I am someone who likes NFTs. I've programmed a lot of NFTs. Michael, my co-founder, also has done a lot. We like the pictures. We like the NFTs. We thought this would be awesome. And the reason it appealed to us was that, hey, if we simplify a lot of how all this stuff works with the NFTs, and we focus really on just the question of whether an NFT exists, a digital artifact, as we say, which is borrowed again from inscriptions on Bitcoin, whether an NFT exists and who owns it. If we can just simplify it down to these core concepts, we can create a protocol that doesn't require smart contracts and therefore will be a lot cheaper. And so this was the idea we went in. Did not expect anything with tokens, and thought as you did, like, why would you do a token in this way? Like, we have our own tokens. And so, this is a pattern for me, especially because when the first time I saw ordinals and the first time I saw inscriptions on Bitcoin, I thought this will never work. Like, what is this? It's not real. It's not. And so I thought all these things. I was very dismissive, and then I did some research and thought about it, and that led to the launch of Ethscriptions. So I ended up liking it so much I wanted to copy it. And so likewise, I didn't understand tokens on Ethscriptions. I didn't understand why you would want to do that. But then I started looking at this, and one of the big initial tokens, a token called ETH, which had a lot of activity, a great community, and sort of put me onto this concept of like paying closer attention to this, kind of put me onto this idea that now the thing I'm saying, which is that maybe you can do more than pictures, right? I love pictures, and I don't want to say that like pictures are huge to me. And they're the inspiration. But maybe you can do something more. Maybe you can do something that is more nuanced, more tricky, and that's why that's kind of what pushed us in the direction of Facet, because I saw these tokens and I thought, okay, first of all, I dismissed them. Then I was like, whoa, maybe this is more significant. But then I kind of had this idea of like, we were like, look, like if we try to create protocols, because also we witnessed some of the stuff happening in Bitcoin, if we try to create protocols that are going to embrace these tokens and extend these tokens using the existing infrastructure of Ethscriptions, we are not going to be able to do them justice. Because really, when people see a token, they want a lot more than just, you know, the pretty picture thing. Like, here's an NFT, like it's a picture and here's someone who owns it. Like with a token, you want to do a lot more, right? First of all, there's the fungibility aspect, but even beyond that, you want to be able to, you know, do swaps. You want to be able to use a DEX. You want to be able to take out loans. You want governance. You want all these things that people are used to with ERC20s, which is much more complicated, I think, than NFTs. So this kind of created the idea in our heads of like, wait, instead of doing a bunch of additional improvements to protocols to allow tokens to be good on Ethscriptions, let's take a step back and think about a general solution that will all at once allow tokens to be used for absolutely anything possible. And so tokens were a great community, driven innovation that kind of put us onto some of these bigger ideas. And we didn't do anything initially to embrace tokens at all, basically. Like I was just really trying to think about the right thing. But now I think we've come up with a really, really great solution for tokens, and also something that's going to help a ton of other use cases as well. So this is kind of our first big step towards innovating with tokens.
So wait, is Ethscriptions then attached to Facet at all, or is it a completely separate thing and they don't really communicate with each other? Kind of explain it to me, you know, a dumbed down version for the simpletons in the room like myself.
Sure. That's a great question. So Facet is a protocol built on top of Ethscriptions, meaning that when Facet does operations and makes stuff happen, those things are Ethscriptions, you know, creating Ethscriptions, reading Ethscriptions, all of the Facet stuff happens using Ethscriptions as the basic building blocks. And so, and in particular, if you want to, and Facet is a platform that allows you to do any computation, and you use contracts to do that, but we call our contracts dumb contracts because we're being a little bit cheeky, and also you need to distinguish them from smart contracts as well. It's a useful name. So dumb contracts, you can communicate with a dumb contract, and that dumb contract can like mint you an NFT, just like a normal contract, a smart contract. And the way you do it is you create an Ethscription that has a special format, and you send that Ethscription to the null address, the all zeros one. And that is an action that if you are watching someone do that and you don't know about Ethscriptions, you'll think, what is this person doing? This makes no sense. If you do know about Ethscriptions, you'll say, what is this person doing? It makes no sense. Why would I want to send an Ethscription to the null address? That's just burning it. But according to this new protocol, you're doing something very, very significant, or you could be at least. So the bottom line is Facet depends on Ethscriptions, meaning that Facet needs Ethscriptions to work. It's built on Ethscriptions. Ethscriptions doesn't depend on Facet. So if you use Ethscriptions today and you're not interested in Facet, that is totally fine. I mean, we want you to use it. We think you'll like it, but there's no reverse dependency there. Facet is dependent on Ethscriptions, but the reverse isn't true. So you don't have to use Facet. You don't even know Facet exists if you're not interested in it if you use Ethscriptions. Now, this presents an issue because there are assets on Ethscriptions that people then want to use in Facet. So, for example, there are these tokens we're talking about, Ethscriptions-based tokens. And so if you want to trade them on a DEX, you're going to need to bridge them into Facet because they're not, they're different systems. And we are working on a bridge that we're creating for a token that I mentioned, a token called ETHs. There are going to be, I'm sure, other bridges in the future. Facet is an open, decentralized platform. So all of the technologies we're using on Facet to build things, anyone will be able to use to build as well. And so, yeah, this is basically, we are building something that will allow people to take Ethscriptions-based tokens, bring them to Facet, do whatever trading or dexing or buying and selling they want to do, and then bring them back, if they want to, bring them back to the world of Ethscriptions. So that, and then the same will be possible with Ether, the normal cryptocurrency of Ethereum. That will also have a bridge. So it's a little confusing, but the idea is once you bridge in, you're in your own world. You don't have to worry about any of this. Once you're in Facet, you should feel just like you are, in normal Ethereum. It should feel like an L2 basically, but it's not an L2. We can talk about it later. But that's the idea. Like L2s, it's like, how do you get your asset to an L2? Well, you have to bridge, and that's annoying and weird. But once you're there, it's fine. And that's kind of like how it works for us.
Yeah, I have here pulled up Facet Scan on the live stream, and you could see some of the different contracts have been created from Ether Bridge. There's the Ether Bridge V2, Ether or Ethscription ERC20 Bridge, Generative ERC721, Uniswap V2 Factory. I'm assuming that more of these are going to end up being created over time. But this feels eerily similar to Ethereum, but you mentioned it's on Ethereum. Is there anything that you or the community has built that cannot be done on Ethereum L1, but is just relevant to the Ethscription ecosystem?
So that's a good question. I think in terms of core capabilities, they're both like Turing complete, or it's a nerd way of, they both have the same capabilities in the end. So you can write any app on each, and in fact, our focus has really been copying Ethereum just to kind of prove we're capable of it, and also give people a familiar environment. So the DEX on facetswap.com is just copied from Uniswap v2. And by the way, it's a little confusing to use, but if you use this DEX, you will sort of see that we're crazy, basically, because you will go and you will see a DEX, and the DEX is on Ethereum. It's not on L2, it's on Ethereum, but it doesn't use smart contracts. And you might wonder, how on earth is this possible? And you have to really go deep to get in the zone of this. But I think there's a couple of differences between us and Ethereum. So one difference is that we are not a blockchain, right? We are a way of looking at Ethereum. And so that means that a lot of our stuff is lighter weight. So for example, if you want to run the Facet indexer, the Facet virtual machine, you can get that software and run it on Heroku or any other hosting service. And that software will allow you to double check everything on the old name, Facet Swap or Facet Scans. You can check our work, basically, and you can verify it's correct. Now, if you want to run an Ethereum client and check to make sure Etherscan is correct, that's going to be a lot harder, because this is a more complicated piece of software, because a blockchain. Our thing is not a blockchain. It depends on Ethereum, but it is not a blockchain, so it's easier to run. And likewise, the programming environment is simpler. It's not Solidity. It's a higher level language we've invented called Rubidity. And so, I don't have to get so far into it. It's a little simpler there too. But that comes from the fact that it is not a blockchain. It's not a standalone blockchain, so it can be a little bit lighter. But the core idea is the same. And in fact, we chose the paradigm of contracts so that you could really, live in that world. We could have chosen a different way of doing computer programs, but we chose contracts to really make people feel at home and also understand the power.
Wow. Adam, what do you think so far? You got any questions?
I just heard the name Rubidity, and I just had to laugh, bro. That is freaking hilarious. Who came up with that, man? Who's the genius behind that one?
I love giving other people credit, but in this case, I will take 100%.
Well, let's invite Michael up on stage, man. He was nice enough to come up as well. And just maybe, Michael, you want to give your kind of thoughts on what's going on right now, and what you and Tom have built, and how you kind of see this going forward over the next 6 months. I kind of see it in the Discord. People are really talking about this idea of tokens has kind of captured people's attention. But where do you see this kind of going over the next 6 months or so?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. And it's been amazing to work with Tom on this. Going from just how it started with Ethscriptions to the whole process of getting inspired to do a lot more, and then the development of Facet. It's been amazing, and I'm excited to see where it goes. The thing that obviously I wouldn't be working on it if I wasn't really bullish on this whole idea and concept. Personally, I think it's going to be revolutionary for Ethereum and the whole space in general. It's funny because there's a lot of, you know, well, I don't know if that say a lot, but you know, we get pushback. I'll just say that on things, but um, it's you know, it's exciting to see it click though with a lot of people, and then when it clicks and they get like really excited, and that's like a really cool experience to see that happen, and to just watch this like entire community grow and rally around this idea that maybe you know, what we've been used to, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, maybe there's a better way, maybe there's a cheaper way, and we don't have to um, you know, spend ridiculous amounts of money to have the blockchain add you know, 1+1 for us. Maybe we can do that off the chain and trust that 1+1 equals 2. And so um, yeah, I think it's amazing. So I don't know. I like Tom went into an enormous amount of detail, so I don't want to like you know, you know, kind of go into that. But the thing that you know, the thing that if you were to take anything away from it, Ethereum, what makes Ethereum amazing is that it handles doing the thing that no one could agree on, which is what order should these transactions be in. Like we could never agree on that. We would all we would all be fighting over like, no, my transaction should be first. And so Ethereum is amazing at handling that. And what we're saying is that everything else is deterministic, and that deterministic stuff does not. We don't need to be paying um, node validators to be handling the rest of this deterministic processes for us. We can handle deterministic processes off chain, and so that if you get anything, that's kind of the philosophy behind this whole thing. And so I think that it is exciting, and I can't wait for it. I mean, it's, to me, you know, tokens are a huge part. Uh, Particularly ETH token was like, you know, the big one that kind of shook, you know, Tom and my like we were not expecting that when we created this. It was like, uh, you know, like he was saying, we were, you know, we both we're not really like shitcoin degens. Uh, uh, like I've maybe traded like 4 ever in my life. And so we just like our brain wasn't even there. Like, and so when this happened, it was, you know, and people started trading these ERC20s on Ethscriptions. We were just like WTF? like like what is going on? And why? Like, why are you guys doing this? And so but then it just made us like, well, wait a second, you know, like, you know, maybe everything can be cheaper. And so like, you know, it's cool because tokens, like, kind of, you know, the whole tokens thing, and you know, kind of led to us, you know, thinking bigger. But I think it's way bigger than just tokens. I think like, you know, there is limitless, honestly limitless potential for what this could be used for. It could be used for gaming. It could be used for all kinds of things. NFTs, um, you know, DeFi, obviously. But there is, you know, anything that you could do on Ethereum. Uh, you know, you could imagine that this could do it, but much cheaper. And Tom said 40 times cheaper, but that's like honestly lowballing it. Since
Right. That's with low gas, right?
well, no, well, so like it's just so the way it works, it's not a like it's not a like like a like the graph is not like a flat line. It's not linear. Um, the way it would work is with Facet, you're paying you're paying for an Ethereum transaction, but you're paying for like just the call data only. And so you're not paying for the actual processing of that transaction because no contract is doing that for you. And so depending on how complicated that transaction would have been on Ethereum, I mean, you could be saving 400 times the gas.
Wow.
Like it the graph is it has a massive curve on it that goes on like almost vertical like at the very end, because you are not spending any more gas. Once you pay the call data, that's it. So some transactions on Ethereum would be like pretty comparable if there's like hardly anything that you would have been asking the smart contract to do on Ethereum. But when you start getting into complicated stuff, like for loops and doing a bunch of state changes and all this stuff, I mean, that's when you really start to see how much this thing could save. I mean, something that would cost you like $1,000 in gas would be like, that's when you start really seeing the difference, because it's like, wow, this only cost me like $10 in gas instead of 1,000 or something. So it's yeah, I'm excited.
Amazing. Well, everybody, I just wanted to appreciate you guys all coming in today. This is a massive space. If it's up for you guys, appreciate a retweet, sharing it with your friends. Better off just DM it to somebody you think might be interested. That'd be awesome. I did pin a post up top, which got incredible traction in response to Vitalik's tweet about 9 hours ago or so. I pinned that to the top. Worthy to go and comment on that one. Maybe Vitalik will comment on this. That would be absolutely like incredible. Michael, what do you think about that? If Vitalik is like, wow, these things are kind of cool. What would that do for you? Would that make your year, brother?
I'm neutral, honestly.
What? Get the fuck out of here, bro. How can you're neutral? You're neutral. On Vitalik saying, bro, sounds good. You'd be like, here and there. Don't care, really. Come on, man.
I have to be neutral, and this is why. Because more than likely, Vitalik, along with probably a lot of other people, are really pushing this L2 thing, and this really kind of rails against that whole narrative. And so more than likely, my guess is he is initially not going to like it. So I'm neutral because I really can't care, because I'm doing this regardless and I'm excited about it. And I think that it's inevitable that it's going to take over. And so, sure, when he comes around to it one day, and I think that he might, it will be cool, but it'll be cool. And I think like I'll just think, it's about time. So
yeah. I mean, look, I agree with that, and not to put too fine a point on it, Michael gets at this, but like, if we are right and this thing works, then everything Vitalik has ever said about blockchain scaling will be proven wrong. Maybe not everything, but everything in the past like 3 years. Okay, everything in the past long time. Okay, so first of all, you might look at that and say, wait, if you're right, Vitalik's wrong, that means you guys are definitely not right. And that's a very rational perspective, because Vitalik is a really smart guy. And fortunately, Michael and I aren't rational, so we don't subscribe to that perspective. But I totally get it. But it's very hard, and this is why I say revolution. I don't mean like revolution in some like the computer revolution or just some vague sense. I mean revolution in like a very specific sense, which is it is a revolution if this works, because it will totally change the prevailing way of thinking about Ethereum. Like all the establishment people, Vitalik, like Vitalik will have to go back and update all of these blog posts. And so he writes a ton of blog posts and they're all very long. So imagine how tired his hands would get if he liked this idea. So that is, I feel bad for his hands.
All right, Tom, well, I got a technical question for you, and then I'll call on Bonk right afterwards. Getting into the Ethscription versus L2, debate, or maybe some of the technical differences. What would you say are the trade-offs? Because we know generally when you move to an L2, you kind of sacrifice some centralization vectors and maybe some security as well. Are there this similar trade-offs with Ethscriptions versus L2s?
Great question. So there are two main things happen with L2s, the two main differences. So one, as Michael said, is transaction sequencing. Okay, whose transaction was first? This is the most important thing because it's the only thing, or it's not the, whatever, I'm not going to say extremes, but I'm going to say like, this is something that you need a special magic thing for because no one knows the answer to this. It's not 2 + 2 = 4. It's who was first, you or me. And so this thing called proof of stake was invented, and proof of stake solves this problem. It's kind of amazing. How can a bunch of people agree on whose transaction came first when there is no right answer? It's amazing. And that's so important, right? That's the ground floor of anything when it comes to a blockchain. And with an L2, you give that up. So you give up the most important thing, right? That's the one issue with L2s is you give up the only thing, the most important thing, which is to say, you say, okay, hey, instead of the validators doing it, how about we just let $1 billion corporation do it? And, I like Coinbase. I use Coinbase, but why do you want to let the CEO of Coinbase determine whose transactions were in what order? So, transactions are important where, imagine if one person got to not just take all the MEV, got to set all the order vary transactions. You want to be participating in a marketplace where that person could also participate. It's kind of insane in a way. So that's one thing, right? The other big thing L2s do is they not just get to set the order, they get to say whether there is any transactions, right? There are any transactions. So, it's humming along and it's setting the order and maybe it's doing it fairly or maybe not, no way to find out. And then one day it decides, no more transactions. Okay, it can do that. In that case, it's done. It's all over. And what I mean is it's all over. It's not necessarily you lose all your money that's on there, but everything you've ever built, all the smart contracts, everything, all goes to zero. And, with billion-dollar corporations, they have a responsibility to their shareholders. If you own Coinbase stock, I'm sure some of you do. I don't, but I probably should buy some, like they're a good company or whatever. But like, if you own Coinbase stock, then you are subscribing to this idea that if Base doesn't make the money, they should shut it down because you have to do things that make you the most money possible. It's how corporations work. That's how they should work, I think. So they can be shut off, okay? And that's a bad thing because if you talk about scaling Ethereum, right? Hey, I've got this great idea for scaling Ethereum. It's going to scale Ethereum, except it can be shut off at any time. Like that's a weird pitch that we are getting on the L2 side. It's a very weird pitch. So Facet is different, okay? With Facet, the Ethereum validators, Ethereum proof of stake sequences transactions. Okay, so that means we don't have any control over MEV or anything like that. Like you might get a bad situation there, but it's not on us to decide. It's how Ethereum works. Same as Ethereum, right? We don't control it. And two, we can't turn Facet off. And, obviously like at its early stages, we could delete the GitHub or decide not to launch. So like we have some power now. It hasn't launched yet. And for sure, like at some point, maybe we have some, like obviously there's social consensus and whatever, but worst case scenario, right? Michael and I get hit by a bus. The software is open source. You run the software. You can keep it running. We have no dependency on us whatsoever. Okay. And so these are the two big differences. And if you really start to think, you could wonder, like, what is the point of an L2? Like, why is this being sold to us as like a good thing? I don't think L2s are bad. I think L2s are good. So sorry, it is a good thing. I think L2s are very cool, but they are not something that scales Ethereum and not something that allows us to make Ethereum more accessible. They are a different product. Right? Coinbase.com doesn't scale Ethereum, but it's a dope product. I use Coinbase.com. L2's Base is a similar thing. So that's the big difference, I think. Now, I will give L2s some credit here. L2s are going to be, in some cases, faster, in some cases, cheaper. Okay, the ability to sequence transactions and sacrifice that security means you can go faster, right? Because the reason stuff on Ethereum is slow is because it's secure. So if you are willing to give up that, you're going to get some benefits from the L2. So I'll give L2s some credit on that front. Also, L2s, because they're supported by the establishment, will have, MetaMask is going to support them now, whereas it's going to take some time for wallets to support our thing. So you're definitely early on our thing, whereas L2s have been around for a while and they're more mature, so it'll be easier to use. And by the way, I think L2s are cool again, but I think when it comes down to the most important questions, we are providing a solution that L2s don't.
Thank you for that. Hey, Bonk, thanks for being patient. What's on your mind?
Hey, Tendo Honk here. Thanks for having me up. I'm part of the Hypocrites team. We minted over 3 months ago. I'll let my co-founder Tremor talk more about our project later on. I just want to talk about a few points that Hirsch and Middle Arch have brought up over the call so far. One thing is definitely that Ethscriptions makes a lower barrier for entry. So people that want to create an NFT project, get their art out there, it's extremely cheap to inscribe something on Ethscriptions and start selling it right away through existing marketplaces. As well, there was one question like, what can Ethscriptions do that Ethereum can't do with smart contracts? And one thing which might have some comparison with ordinals is these, BRC20, ERC20 tokens that they're creating right now, like the DUM token, the ETHS token, which are unique. So when you create one of these tokens, for example, the Facet token, you can't create another one. Like it's already been created. So you can't like create another one on top versus, you can create tons of different Ethereum smart contracts for the Pepe token. You can have tons of different Pepe, tokens floating around, but you can't have the same inscriptions based on like a structured data, token. Furthermore, what we have that Ordinals doesn't have is smart contracts and the ability to actually emit an inscription from a smart contract in ESIP3. So what that gives us is the ability to actually like control whether an inscription is going to be created or not and what the inscription's contents will be. And then my last point here is that I think that today what we're inscribing, what we're minting are real gems because, we're in crypto, we're bullish that the price is going to go up. But as the price goes up, the G-Way is constantly going up. We see G-Way is back up to where it has been, historically. So right now it's at 35 G-Way. If you want to make one Ethereum transfer right now, Etherscan will tell you it costs $1.20. I've done inscriptions with art from my PFS under 30 cents. I've inscribed for $15 a really, really comprehensive animation for our Baby Hippo Honker's recent drop. And if you were to inscribe that right now, you wanted the exact same GIF animation on chain right now, it would cost you $100. So just based on the economic cost of these inscriptions getting more expensive to inscribe over time, that gives them an inherent value because as long as it's pretty, you want that in your wallet. You want to be able to flex that you have this thing inscribed on the blockchain because if the next person wants to do it, it's going to cost them way more. Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I know we have a few other people on stage. So first I wanted to say what's up to Chris. Did not say GM to you. What are your thoughts on Ethscription? You have any questions?
No,
GM.
Oh,
We have two Chris's.
We got the double Chris working, baby. Double Chris.
Good name. Go for it. Shoot for it, man.
no, you, Chris. You go ahead. Don't worry.
Real quick, just GM. Happy Halloween. Happy Bitcoin White Paper Day. No better day to talk about Ethscriptions than here we are. Quick question for maybe Michael or Tom or anyone. We've been following Ethscriptions for a while, and we kind of just saw this resurgence just kind of taking off in the last few weeks. Was there any kind of focal point that really kind of set it off or really excited the community? Or, we just saw kind of a huge uptick in the conversation. So I was super excited to get everyone talking about it.
You want to take it?
I
Tom?
would say I have no idea. I certainly was not part of it at all. I've been trying to talk and bring awareness and energy to it, but we've been entirely focused on this Facet thing, which is I guess we did release the Facet on Gurley. So yeah, okay, we'll take some credit for this. The Facet thing on Gurley, I think, showed people something that they had just really never ever seen before, and I think that was a new chapter basically for people thinking about Ethscriptions, which is the DEX that doesn't require a smart contract. It's pretty wild stuff, I will say. I mean, it hasn't launched on mainnet, obviously, so I'm not trying to accept any flowers here, but that was new. But overall, it's a community-driven thing, I think, this energy that we're seeing right now. Like, we are focused on something that hasn't launched and building energy around that, but still our minds, and in some sense, it's a difficult psychological thing for me in terms of I want to get up here, and I pump feel the energy, but at the same time, when you have a project like this that's so close and get not out there, you're kind of feeling like, what is the point? Who am I? Like, do I exist? It's like you have to deliver the real thing, the mainnet thing, and we're very close. But yeah, I just think it's been an incredible vibe, and I really just want to say thank you to the Ethscriptions community for bringing this energy and for also believing in what we're doing, even though Michael and I have not, let's be honest, we've not actually delivered results on the Facet thing. It's not on mainnet. I'll be critical for a second. We've gone pretty fast, but we got to deliver this thing on mainnet, and then I think we're going to see an even bigger explosion of energy. But thank you to everyone who's been keeping it going, and also just while I'm thanking everyone who used this site called Facet Swap, formerly Dumb Swap. You've revealed a lot of issues that we fixed. There have been a lot of performance issues. In particular, we did a big recent round of performance fixes on that. You can try. It's been really, really amazing and really helpful there. So thank you to everyone who's used that site to test.
Well, I think what I've seen in the Discord is there's this back and forth between, the different tokens between ETHs and I don't know what they are, dumbs. And is there anybody, maybe Bobby? I know Bobby's in the crowd. Thanks for joining, brother. Is there anybody who wants to, Bobby, maybe, do you want to break this down as to kind of what's going on in the community with these tokens and this general debate on what's happening between, I don't know, what's the best token, which is the first token? Can you give us the heads up on, or the TLDR on what's going on there?
Yep. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Speculation right now.
Got it.
That's what it is. This protocol is so new as far as for when it launched to the public that it's moving at lightning speed. You have two different.
It was for me. I wait a second.
Oh, was that for? Oh, I just heard Michael. So you have the double whammy effect in this, that we were in a bear market. You have nothing going on except for maybe, Pepe and the normal drama that we, this fighting that we see in the crypto space. You see a new protocol come, and then you have, crypto space one day is like 90 days. People talk about things that are 6 months ago and it feels like it's a decade ago. So when you have something like this that has an impact, and you have to owe it to Bitcoin ordinals, in January, and then you had stamps on counterparty, and then right behind it you had this. People were looking for something to get behind, but this kind of goes back to my thesis of why this stuff is taking off and what's better, and I think they're all going to be good. You're going to have people who do cash grabs and things like that. I deployed a token just to have my own name out there, not with anything, and it sold out in 58 minutes. I don't even know what the heck happened. It was the craziest thing. And I was just like, I had to ask Hirsch on how does it do it the right way? And he said, do this and, do this. And I did it. And all of a sudden I couldn't even get as many as I wanted for myself. But when I deploy capital, I always want to win. The thing is I am a sick maniac. I've been in this space for a long time. My wife hates when I get into new projects because if I get behind it, I try to figure out and reverse engineer things. So when I saw this platform, when I deploy capital, whether it's personally or if I deploy capital on a VC basis and private equity, when I'm analyzing deal flow, I look for 3 Ds. What makes something different? Is it demonstrable? And is it defendable? And what makes this protocol different is what has been said already, that this is significantly cheaper. What that means is the average person can come into this, whether it's the ERC20 tokens, or it's minting their own project and they're an artist, or if they're a flipper. You can't really get hurt on something that's $3, $4, $5, or $10 compared to, minting something and throwing something at a dartboard that we got used to in 2021 because everybody wanted the next Bored Ape, and these projects took off. But the average person couldn't win in that space unless they got lucky, almost like winning the lottery. In this, what makes it big different is that they can deploy capital whether you're a whale or whether you're a little guy who has 20 bucks to his name. And if a project sells out, which most of them are selling out within 24 hours, if not 3 hours, and they can move into a new project, keep a bag, and keep going. And for this space to evolve, we need that to happen. Now, is it demonstrable? Absolutely, because people are getting really, really creative on this stuff. But here's the big thing. Is it defensible? And when I invest into something and saying, well, why would I give you the money if I can go out there and recreate it and own 100% of it myself? That can't be done here on this protocol. So when you look at that, it makes more sense to people to get involved in this than look other ways on how they can get involved in other things. Because the more people that win across the board, and I mean on the artist side, the developer side, the tech side, and the retail side, that's what's going to explode the growth. And I really think we're going to overtake everything in the space by far, just because we haven't even seen the development. We're in a bear market right now. You know, when we really accelerate, we'll go from there. And to answer your question, which I probably didn't do, it's right now people are gambling. You have the king of them all right now, which is ETH in there. You have, dumb that went up and then it went backwards. You had the Facet stuff that came about the other day. But I believe that we'll see real world applications of people who incorporate all this stuff into their projects. And right now people are just trying to get a bag, because if you're doing it during mint and it sells out, you're minting these things for 30 or 40 cents, for the token, up until $2. I mean, I held off on my own mint today. I minted another token today because it went to $2. I said, $2? I'm not used to spending $2. So I have to look back to my other side mint when I spent $8,000, to mint something. Now I'm like, I'm used to 40 or 50 cents. I'm not going to mint something. So right now you're getting a lot of speculation, but you're also getting a lot of communities. And the big communities that you've seen that have erupted in there are really your East community, your dumb community, and then the overall speculation on top of it. So I tried to answer your question in a roundabout way, but that's my take on it.
You did a great job. Just to put some numbers out there, I pulled up Etch Market, and ETH's market cap is $32 million, which is probably at least 100 times more than the closest thing I see next, which would be Facet, which is 500 grand in market cap. It looks like it has ETH has 4,185 volume in Ethereum, and the unit price is about $1.50 per, or the floor price is 0.867 Ethereum. And from ownership perspective, he says 2,186 owners. The highest that I'd scroll through and saw was about 3,500. So still very early when you compare it to, things like Pepe meme coin that has, hundreds of thousands of owners, or some that are even much, much larger than that. So still lots of plenty of room to go as well. What's up, Trum?
GM, Hong Kong. I just wanted to build on something that Bobby Zhu was saying in the different spaces, which was regarding the quality of the community so far. Granted, we're very small. The Hypocrites, we minted back in July. We were like the first collection with original art to be minted on the Ethscriptions. And since then, we've been working hard to build on this space. And one of the things that I've noticed that is different, because this is my second project on Ethereum, is that there is a sense of community behind the protocol that we don't see in the Ethscriptions or in the Ethereum landscape. So yes, you will see each project developing their own cheerleaders and people like always rooting for their bags. That's normal. But generally, when push comes to shove, people will always get together to defend the protocol. So you see competing projects out there working together to support the protocol itself, because we understand that we have something that's really special in our hands here. And that's just to say that we've barely scratched the surface, because we're still waiting for a Facet fund. People who are like heavily involved into ERC20 tokens. We have 3 marketplaces so far, and we have several PFP projects, many of them really interesting. But we are still lack on like the major infrastructure to support the ecosystem as a whole. Like third-party service providers, there's very little. So it's so fresh. It is so new, and there's so much for us to be building on top of what Tom and Michael are building. So when you hear that the SEC is being basically compelled to approve that ETFs that have crypto as the main asset, and you know that that's going to bring a huge amount of liquidity into the space, and it's basically being hoped for to be the catalyzer for the next bull market. And we have something that is like this, high quality, and with a really strong community behind it, and that still has a lot of demand for services. Man, this space is just going to blow up. It's unbelievable, the quality of this space.
Thank you for that. So a few more trends as well that I see here on Ethsmark. I do see some of the Bitcoin ordinals community in here as well. So you may see some similarities. There are domains that are trending. I even see a .eth map, which is probably the equivalent of .bitmap. You have .facet, .eths looks like it has the most registrations at 75,000 registrations. On Ethsmarket, there are things like staking, which looks pretty cool. And also on stage here, we have Ordex, who is one of the premier marketplaces as well. I have it pulled up here on the live stream. You've done a really good job so far. So Ordex, if you're there, could you give us just a brief explanation of what Ordex is, some of the strengths of the platform, and maybe some trends that you're seeing flow through the marketplace?
You're muted, Ordex.
If you're there. Could not be.
If you're there, or just there's clout chasing.
Right,
bro, you had one opportunity to sell us and you're gone. You're dusted, man.
Go ahead.
I missed it.
Hey, how's it going? I kind of have like a technical question for Middle March. I mean, I guess like really regarding art. I'm not a super technical guy, but I was there for a lot of the stuff on ordinals regarding like file size. Most of the art on Ethscriptions has been pixelated, or it's just smaller file sizes. I mean, I've been here since day one, and I mean the original indexer, like you could only inscribe things up to 96 kilobytes. And in order to solve that issue, I remember it was a huge catalyst in the ordinal space was something that Danny and OCM did was, they inscribed these file libraries to basically allow for something called recursion, which allowed for much higher quality art to be inscribed at a much lower price, and also just not like a not really large file size. Basically, all of the files were behind the inscription, and the inscription generated the art itself completely on chain. And that was a problem that had to be solved on Bitcoin. And I guess I'm wondering is Facet going to, with smart contracts, going to be able to alleviate the need for that? Like, are we going to be able to inscribe much higher quality art at, lower file sizes?
Sure. So yeah, great. Thank you. Great question. And right, so you're correct. So on Ethereum, there is a limit to the size of the input data, the call data that you can put into an Ethereum transaction. And for most basic use cases, because that's how you create inscriptions, that creates a limit to the size of the inscription. And that limit is 128 kilobytes. And you mentioned 96, and it's 96 kilobytes if you want to do an image because of the way an image is encoded. And so it's strictly speaking, it's possible to get around this using a smart contract. You can get up to 3.5 megabytes, but in order to do that, it's very costly because you have to store it's a pain, it's costly. So you probably don't want to do that. One proposal is this recursion thing where you allow one inscription to reference another inscription. And I realize this is very popular in Bitcoin. I think it's very cool technology. I have never personally, and maybe I need to understand it better, and so Bitcoin has led the way and a lot of this stuff. So I hesitate to criticize from the Ethereum perspective. I have never personally been a fan in terms of creating a protocol for recursion because I don't really see the benefit. In other words, if you have a recursive structure, right, that points to other stuff, then you are relying on a client, i.e. a website or someone, to put it all together and make it make sense. So, if you're referencing a JavaScript library, then someone has to undo that reference, and that can be a website that goes and looks up that JavaScript library and puts it in. But now you've kind of created this like significant dependency where it's not going to work as anticipated on other websites. And so to me, the benefit of getting bigger file sizes weighed against the cost of reducing the number of websites that can display this stuff. I think that it's better to hold as a constant that you have to work in a lot of places and then optimize, from there. But I probably am missing some things on that. I don't know. My view on the right way to do this is for the protocol itself to require indexers and other participants to combine this and create the combine the different files together on the server side, so to speak. In other words, a client like a website should never have to worry, oh, do I have to do extra work here? And this is indeed how smart contracts work and how dumb contracts work. Like when a smart contract is putting together data to show you something, it gets it a little from this smart contract over here, from smart contract 1, smart contract 2, it can get it from 10 different smart contracts, and it can put it all together and show it to you like that. So you have an on-chain NFT in the normal use case of a smart contract, you get the finished version, right? Sometimes you get a link in a different case to IPFS, but you get the finished version. So one thing that Facet will let you do is it'll let you compose different functions on different dumb contracts, and it will let you put together a file and emit that file in one single form. Also, you'll be able to store files on dumb contracts, a lot cheaper. So Facet will solve a lot of these problems. At the same time, and this is a fairly bold view from someone who loves storing things on chain and on-chain NFTs, I think when we are looking at this in a very, very big picture, we have to ask ourselves, what a blockchain does best. Right? What does a blockchain do that nothing else can do? And that is ordering transactions, right? When it comes to file storage, there are going to be times when the blockchain isn't the right solution there because file storage other people can do because you have this verification with the hash. So with IPFS, you can always verify, is this a legit file? And because of that, other services, other things can store this file. And yes, it's not as good. But when you're using the blockchain, for us, I believe the big focus should be what can this do that nothing else can do. And so that's where we're kind of, that's how we orient ourselves. But doing on-chain stuff and storing the stuff on-chain is super important and super valuable. And there will be much better solutions than what we have today once Facet comes out.
Thank you. I do. I guess you spoke a little bit about the indexers and stuff. Regarding the indexer, are we going to be able to expect any sort of updates? If you go to ord.io, which is, it started obviously very small. Now it's, the biggest indexer on ordinals. But you can pretty much go into any of these inscriptions and interact with them. Or right now, if you go on to Ethscriptions.com, you can pretty much you just see pretty much blocks of code. Are we going to be able to expect, I guess, a more interactive experience? If and when those sort of things become, possible, whether it's recursion or not, are we going to be able to interact with those inscriptions on the indexer itself? Right now, you can do games and stuff on ord.io and have little worlds and stuff like that. And that's a big thing that Bitmap pushed forward for ordinals. Is that something that we can expect on Ethscriptions.com?
Definitely. And this actually exists today. If you go to if you ethscribe something that is HTML, that is the HTML MIME type, that's like an HTML page, we will render it in an iframe that will be the same thing that Ord does, and it's just the normal way of doing this. And you'll be able to play a game. I forget the game that someone put on there. I think someone put Doom on there. So people put games on there. People put generative art. There's been some really cool generative art projects, and I think that's an amazing developer and user experience because if you just put the JavaScript in there, which I agree you have to figure out how to get the libraries in, and there's some questions there. But you can create something super, super rich and interesting with not that much data, because it's code and that can generate stuff. So you'll definitely see that. I think we are with Ethscriptions.com. And this is why we really support the ecosystem. Like, we are trying to accomplish a couple of different things with Ethscriptions.com. And one thing that is kind of at odds with this, not at odds, but it's like other use of energy. But we really want Ethscriptions.com to be kind of the rock solid Etherscan type thing, where you can look and you can see, okay, here is the data, but we also want to show the cool stuff. And so we're trying to innovate on both of these sides. But definitely, you can do this today with HTML, and that's a really cool thing that we want to continue to support and make better. So absolutely.
Appreciate you, Middlemarch.
Tremor, do you have your hand up? I saw your hand up.
No, I was just gonna corroborate to what Middlemarch just said. I mean, we've already, like, as a collection, we've already released, I think, like 3 or 4 interactive mints, basically interactive inscriptions that had music, had, like, you could click on it to get sound effects, had animation, multiple layers, dynamic text. So yeah, it's very much possible.
Awesome, thank you.
And we're gonna grab those ones for 30 cents.
Yo, Bunzy, what's good, bro? Welcome to the stage. What are your thoughts on the conversation so far?
Dude, I love it. It's so cool to see how far this Ethscription ecosystem's been built out. And me and Middlemarch have been meaning to meet up, and we just been too deep in the trenches. So I saw his nice haircut up here and had to jump up and say what up. But I'm clicking through, and it's fucking crazy. I mean, there's so much more I need to learn. And I see the similarities from, obviously, ordinals and the data structures and stuff, and the swap. I mean, I'm juiced about that and just curious about. I have so many questions, but first I'm just digesting the whole Facet org library, and just how far it's come. I'm really impressed. This is so cool.
Awesome. Yeah, as a builder, as Bunzy's building a swap for ordinals, that's what gets him excited, swapping some tokens.
Yeah, I mean, so on Ethscriptions with like the amounts and stuff, is it transferring currently as, like, the lack of a better term, like gift card model, where there's like a lump sum and that's listed and that's the price, and then the denomination of, like, just simple math gets you the price of, like, a single token?
So that's how it works when you bridge in. So if you have, so the way it works, take ETHs, for example, right? Like, these were BRC20 style, minted in lim batches of 1,000. So there's 21 million. So it means there's 21,000 individual Ethscriptions, and each of those are worth 1,000. And so today they can be sold in increments of 1,000 by selling multiple of those, the gift card model. When you bridge them in to Facet, what you will do is take the gift card version, which I think is, like, not a bad way to put it, actually. You will take the gift card version, and you will send that, you will bridge that into Facet by sending it to a smart contract, and that it will sit locked in that smart contract. This is how all bridges work. There's a smart contract on one side, and on the other side there's the thing that you're getting. So you put the gift cards in the smart contract, and on the other side, what you will get is a token that behaves the exact same way as an ERC20 token. So it is backed by the locked Ethscription, right? So you'll put in a gift card Ethscription, you put in the Ethscription, which is worth 1,000, and you'll get minted 1,000 tokens on the other side. Now, of course, these 1,000 tokens will actually be 1,000 times, with 18 zeros, because they're, ERC20 and very divisible. But they are backed by the Ethscription. So if you want to withdraw, you burn those tokens, and you go get the Ethscription. Now, these are tokens, meaning they behave as tokens, but they are not Ethscriptions. They are within the Facet world. It's sort of like this different world. So once you have this, you can go use the DEX, and when you use the DEX, it will feel exactly like you are using Uniswap.
Okay, hot
It will be
take.
indistinguishable.
What is the value prop? Because, like, with BRC20s and then come to, like, runes and stuff, the value prop is fungible tokens on Bitcoin. with fungible tokens already existing on Ethereum, it might be obvious. I just haven't been in there. I'm just curious of like, why would one participate in that than the other?
It's a great question. And, you know, as I sort of mentioned, it's not something that was immediately obvious to me when we launched Ethscriptions, but the reason is it's a lot cheaper. So if you want to go and do a swap,
so
you know,
that's huge. And is it cheaper because of launching the contract or participating with smaller data points?
it's because you are doing all of this logic without using a smart contract. You are using a dumb contract, which is our, you know, paradigm of how to think about it, in that it will behave like a smart contract, but you are not actually using smart contract storage, which is the really expensive thing. So if you want to, and also computation. So if you want to do swap, you know, on Uniswap, it might be 150K gas units. And on dumb swap, it's going to be about 30K or 20K gas units. So it's going to be, you know, 5 times cheaper. Now, if you want to create a new pair, right, which is how Uniswap, right, adds liquidity, you need a pair. If you want to create a new pair, that might be 1 million gas on smart contract, but it would be about 30K gas on dumb contract. So that's kind of the idea. It's really
amazing,
just cheaper.
Yeah, I'm just getting a crash course here because I've just been super hyper focused in like ordinal land, but the similarities are like very close, but it's super cool seeing it exist on an EVM and like, you know, not only users, but developers seeing the value prop of truly immutable data and kind of what's been existing on these collections of, you know, like IPFS. And it's just a really cool educational thing, even for myself, just like, you know, what is the true value here? What are we purchasing? What are we participating in? And yeah, it's super interesting. I know it's a dumb question, but it's a dumb contract, so I think it's fitting. It's suiting. But no, dude, I'm so impressed. You and Michael have just been fucking crushing. It's this is way more robust than when we first talked. This is like this is like a whole fucking ecosystem. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like I think Bobby's point earlier today. It's like just this idea that it's very, very similar to ordinals, but the reality is that it's exponentially cheaper than not only ordinals but really anything on Ethereum. Gives it this opportunity that when something happens, maybe, or somebody builds something on it, it gives just a wider berth of people who can participate. And when we're looking at like, you know, how do we grow this crypto pool to include, you know, larger groups of people globally? Obviously, there's billions of people who can't afford a $50, you know, gas transaction on Ethereum, right? There's literally, it's more than half of the globe's population, right? So, you know, them being able to access, you know, the tools and interesting stuff that we're all taking part in, I think is super, super bullish. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I think that value prop is kind of playing out in real time as well. When I was kind of looking over the community, I expected it to be mostly, you know, catered towards NFT community members, but it was actually more so fungible token community members. So I think like that value proposition of just cheaper transactions, cheaper deployment is really kind of taking off even in the earliest days. So it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, that's the opposite of how Bitcoin ordinals formed. Went with the NFTs first, although that was here. Fungibility, and also to me, just kind of this idea of taking this value and moving it into different ecosystems, right? Because kind of like what Emblem Vault does, it allows you to take emerging protocols and assets and then plug it into the Ethereum ecosystem. Here, it could also have the opposite effect, where if Ethscription ecosystem does evolve, some people may want to take their ERC-721 tokens or ERC-20s and try to import that value into the Ethereum ecosystem. If there is some sort of emerging DeFi ecosystem that is built on Ethscriptions. Tom, have you thought about that? Is there a way to go back and forth with that, or right now it's mostly just bridging, right? You're bridging into the Facet ecosystem. Can the Facet ecosystem support like kind of a blossoming DeFi ecosystem that exists on Ethereum L1?
So right now, you know, the concept, yeah, it's basically you have to bridge, and you know, bridging sucks, but the only way for this to really work is for it to be like a closed system that every part of it is aware of every other part of it in the same way. And so you got to bridge. But once you bridge, you're in a great situation. So it's really, when it comes to like us versus L2s and that kind of thing, like we are very similar to the L2 in that regard. Like, you want to do something on the L2, you got to bridge in, and you want to do something here, you've got to bridge. Now we want to make the bridge experience great, and you're not going to wait 7 days, but you have to bridge in. But we hope, the goal is that people are going to want to hang out, right? That it's not going to be just bridge in, bridge out, because once there is sort of an ecosystem here, once developers are building their own stuff in here, there will be, just kind of this oasis of lower cost, within Ethereum. So, that's the goal, but definitely there is, we got to make the we got to be real about the hurdle, and we got to make the hurdle as easy as possible, because you are going to have to bridge to get in, much like with, other chains like L2s.
Maybe one step deeper into the conversation, when most individuals think about L2s, generally the reference of use case is cheaper transactions, but it'll be pivotal for gaming, and that's where you've seen a lot of these kind of GameFi protocols and some metaverses migrate that way. Can Ethscriptions be compatible with metaverse and gaming type projects?
Absolutely. I mean, I think anytime you are looking for cheaper transactions, we are going to be great for that. Now, if you are looking for increased throughput, we are not going to be the best competitor for that, because increased throughput means you are going faster than the validators. And if you're going faster than the validators, you're using some other central party to determine whose transactions are first. And that's not secure. So we're not that's just not our value proposition. So in a case of a game, I think, just to be honest, I'll be honest about the competition. It's like, you can go both ways. Like I could imagine someone very reasonably saying, hey, for the game use case, the security thing is not that important to me, because the alternative is not to use a blockchain, at all. In that case, of course, the game controller can do whatever they want. So I think the risk is kind of low on this transaction sequencing thing. So an L2 might be a great solution for me there. So with us, you are on Ethereum's clock because you are using the validators, and that means you get the real deal, you get the real Ethereum security, but yeah, you lose some throughput there. So that would be a case where an L2 might be a better option for some people, but overall, if you're looking at cheaper thing, then we are a great option. We're just cheaper, but decentralized, and decentralization comes with that throughput situation in some cases.
Yeah, it's that trilemma. What's up, Buns?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand, when you guys do the pools, are you using like V2 or V3 logic with like ranges? And when doing that, are you referencing like a forked version of Uniswap, or is it, dumbed down, if you will?
Right. So that's a great question. So one thing, as I mentioned earlier, Michael and I mentioned like NFTs. Like I, coming into this, didn't know that much, still don't know that much about DeFi. And, so because of this, our goal was basically to duplicate Uniswap exactly, not be dumbed down at all, basically, because we wanted to show people like this is like the real deal, basically. So to do that, we chose V2, Uniswap V2, because it's a simpler model, still a model a lot of people love. A lot of people prefer it to V3. And it was also just like something that, was a good starting point, because this was my getting acquainted with, building my own DeFi thing. So we're going to have Uniswap V3, I'm sure, at some point, whatever, just like Uniswap Evolve. But right now it's V2, and it has every single thing V2 has, meaning that you can, it's got the router, and it's got pairs, and you get the LP tokens, and you can, do stuff with the LP tokens independently. So it's Uniswap V2 cloned line by line, basically.
Nice. No, we're thinking about this the exact same way. Like with BRC20s and runes, like we're using V2 logic just because of like the range. Like it adds more complexity when dealing with these slower inputs. And yeah, this is exciting. We definitely have to chat more, because it's Facet swap is very similar to Omnisat in a lot of ways. So it makes me think like, with the new ORD update, there's teleburning from ETH to ordinals. I think it'd be kind of bullish and kind of like, is there ever going to be an ordinal burn to Ethscriptions? And I think there's an interesting like locking mechanic to like do cross-chain pooling.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think, well, so one, even just a more basic thing, just to say real quick, is that the way Facet works is it depends on an ordered stream of data, of stuff, right? And so it gets that from Ethereum because we have the ordered transactions. And as I mentioned, order is the key thing a blockchain does. So it's got the ordered transactions. But there's nothing that says you have to use it with Ethereum, right? Like we love Ethereum, blah, blah, blah. But you can use it on Bitcoin. It would be extremely simple to use on Bitcoin because it is a blockchain and blockchain gives you the ordered data. You can use it on things that aren't blockchains, but you would need that ordered data stream where everyone believes in the order. And it turns out the blockchain is great for that. So if someone wants to, copy paste it and put it on Bitcoin or another chain, then, they're more than welcome to do so. And that's cool. I think what you talk about is bridging or teleburn. I think absolutely you can bridge to Facet. Either through Ethereum or through Bitcoin. And there's more complexities of doing it, quote unquote, cross chain and whatever. But bridging already has some trust assumptions in it. And this, I don't think, would make it, significantly worse or even different. It could expand it. So absolutely. And there will be the option. And, we're going to be careful about, in terms of how we, saying, which bridges we say are like the, approved bridge, whatever. But like there will be a setup where, again, if we can create a bridge, anyone can create a bridge, right? Like there's no tool or thing that we have, because it's decentralized, that no one else has. So, people will be able to do what you describe if they want to, permissionlessly. And then, again, we're not going to feature it on the web page unless we do some research on it, but you don't need us as a web page. We're just, we're just one person. So people will be able to do this and they won't have to ask us for permission if they want to do it that way.
Dude, this is amazing. There's so much synergy. And when speaking with Ordex too, when they were doing a lot of inscription and ordinal indexing, like they pivoted strongly to Ethscriptions, and I'm starting to see why for sure. It's definitely a similar type of ecosystem with builders doing things kind of bootstrapped and doing like proving the market. And it's a super healthy way to like build out an ecosystem, not just dumping a bunch of like, fake funds forward and then having people just like wash trade things. So this is massive. This is really cool. It makes me want to open up my MetaMask a lot more.
Hell yeah. Let me just quickly shout out Ordex because it's funny. It's like, you can say, yeah, this is why they're, but like, I don't know. It's like, Ordex was here like literally from the launch, and I was kind of at the beginning. I was kind of like, who? Like, why do they care? So it's like really Ordex was literally from day one, like saying like we want to get involved before I even understood what this thing was going to be. So shout out Ordex and everyone who got involved early in this thing. It's been great.
Yeah, strong signs of a protocol that's going to have some sort of substance and longevity is the amount of community tools that are built around it. And I think the speed and scale of that is like even a stronger sign. And it seems like we've now seen 3 or 4 marketplaces, a few explorers, and some and then you have NFT projects, and now you're starting to move into standardizing it through Facet. So Tom and Michael, really impressive what you guys have done so far. We'll probably close it up here. We've gone through, dude, amazing super space. Shout out to the whole Ethscription community that showed up. We had over 1,000 people in this space at one time. Just absolutely incredible. Tom, you want to give us any final words or anything you'd like to know? Appreciate it again for your time.
Thank you. Yes. And what I'll just say is that everyone here is, if you're learning about this, if you're open to it, like these are weird ideas. And in the beginning, certainly, and even now, we've gotten a lot of pushback on these ideas. And these ideas are extremely contrarian. As I mentioned, these ideas are nowhere near what the Ethereum establishment, what everyone who has any power in this situation, like these ideas are counter to their idea. They're contrarian ideas. They're weird ideas. So if you're involved in this, and by the way, the usability is worse, right? This thing is not supported by MetaMask. This thing is not supported by any, so if you're involved in this, you are obviously someone, who is interested in being part of something that is not guaranteed. You know what I mean? This is new. This is not guaranteed. It's anti what a lot of people are thinking. And so I just want to say I appreciate that. You know, this is a blockchain revolution. Okay, a lot of people don't see that. It might not work, by the way. It's not guaranteed. I can't guarantee it'll work. But if it does work, it's a blockchain revolution. It's going to change a lot of the baseline assumptions people have about how blockchains should work and what they should do. So if you're here, you're part of that. And I really want to say I appreciate it, because this is the time when you can tell, because it's very early. We haven't even launched yet. So thank you to everyone who's here. My DMs are open. I now have a new email address, tom@facet.com. So don't publicize. That's a brand new email address. Email me. And I just want to say I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, really, really appreciate it. For those that don't know, Adam, myself, Emblem Vault, Bunzi, Chris, Dev, we host this show Tuesday through Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We support everybody from Ethscriptions, Ordinals community, multi-chain. We're here doing this every day. We'll be back tomorrow. We host our Pepe show every Wednesday. So we're going to have a bunch of the rare Pepe and fake rare guys. Make sure you give everyone a follow on stage. Thank you again, Tom, Michael, Bobby, everyone who came on stage, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.